Hey, everybody. It's Wednesday. You know what that means. It's time for yet another episode of Sarcastic Distractions, the interesting podcast for interesting people such as yourselves and ourselves. And as always, you're joined with the Gentleman's Society of Podcasting. Myself, Harvey, my heterosexual life mate, David, and the ever-loving AJ.
Hey.
Nice.
And hot off our Wise React series where we talked all about Star Wars, we decided to keep on the sci-fi train. And we're going to do, this might turn into a series of verses, but we're going to do a first episode of Star Trek versus Star Wars. That's right. Ooh. Come at us, nerds. Come at us.
It is a shame we can't be in a room with boxing gloves, but oh well.
I know. Or phasers. I'd take a phaser.
Battlets.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
Or batlets.
I don't know if they compare to a lightsaber, but they're pretty great.
Yeah, they are great.
That's true. Nothing compares to the old lightsaber.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem to be, yeah.
A properly used lightsaber, that is.
True, yeah, because anybody can slice a tauntaun open and stick their best friend in there, right?
Exactly.
But, to be able to wield it and take on somebody, I always made me wonder if the people of Star Trek could peer into the world of Star Wars and they saw all these people running around with lightsabers and using force powers. They're all like, what?
Yeah, let's make some rules about this.
Exactly. Yeah, so Dave, you're going to lead us on this one because, why not?
Why not? Yeah.
Just so everyone knows, we are very much aware that there are lots of other great sci-fi properties. We love lots and lots of sci-fi, whether it be Doctor Who, Battlestar, B5, Babylon 5, Firefly, all of that stuff's great. But we're just talking about the biggest, Star Trek, Star Wars. And go ahead, Dave. Take away.
Yeah. So, and again, just to be a bit more specific, Star Trek versus Star Wars, just on the films. Again, I kind of mentioned this already. If we brought in television, well, come on, Star Trek wins, easy peasy. We bring in some of the other ones, games, for instance, and there's ups and downs all over the place when it comes to video games.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. So, for our discussion about how I'm writing everything today, we'll be focusing just on the movies. And to try and separate it, I picked decades, which worked for the most part, and I think has that nice, good mix of easy decades, and there's a couple we'll maybe have a bit of a discussion on for sure. So so it again, 70s, 80s, 90s, thousands, 10,000s. I don't know what you call those. The zeros, the tens.
The zeros.
I'm
surprised.
go with zeros and tens.
I'm surprised we've lasted this long. I don't think we have a proper terminology for that.
I just ignore it. But so to start us off, the 70s, which again really just has the original Star Wars, number 4, versus Star Trek, the motion picture. So it's one of those lovely decades, and I don't know who wants to jump in first on the which one is their favorite, because I know I certainly can, but
Star Wars.
Fuck it. I'll start us off. To me, this is the easy decade. That's why I'm going to start us off, which is, Star Wars. Give me a break. Yeah, Star Trek motion picture was a struggle of just slow tap.
It was kind of dull.
Tap some more. And it was just, don't get me wrong. One thing I've always enjoyed about Star Trek, and we'll chat about it for sure, which is that it has never been, I shouldn't say never, its goal, especially back in the old years, was never action-y. There was action.
Yeah.
But it was very much that, let's tell a story about humanity and how we can be better. Whereas this one was very much, let's tell a story about how we can sit on a bridge and do nothing, talk about nothing, and just, that sort of thing. You get it. Easy peasy on the 70s from my perspective. Star Wars, hands down. Plus, it was the second best. It's one of those things where just, it is, in my mind, Star Wars 1. And I forgot to mention this. Shoot, I really should have brought this up at the beginning. I apologize. Okay. I've decided that as part of our podcast today, we are going to vote per decade, and I'm going to keep a score.
Oh, cool. Right on.
Okay.
I like it.
Just to see at the end of it which one wins.
Interesting.
So one of the stipulations is going to be we all have to answer. So for this one, the 70s, as I've explained, I do vote for the Star Wars.
Agreed.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Agreed. I'm with the Star Wars too. I found the original Star Trek motion picture. Like I loved Star Trek when I was a kid and everything, and I watched it with my dad. But yeah, it was very dull. It was kind of silly. Yeah, so I was definitely Star Wars for sure.
Nice.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it has to be Star Wars. Like, aside from the cultural ramifications that movie made, the fact that it's permeated through all of our lives and has been used as an archetype of a template. And yeah, I remember seeing Star Trek, the motion picture for the first time, and just feeling like the same. It's like, oh, okay, I get the talking, but like, what else is there? Right? Like, it doesn't seem like, which I at that point in time, because I would already been into TNG and things like that, so I was kind of used to more of a fast paced show. So that was interesting. And like, yeah, I mean, I think the best thing you can say about the Star Trek the motion picture is that it was good enough that they were able to make more.
All right, well, there we go. We got the easy one out of the way. 80s. So just so we're on the same page, I did go purely by release year.
Okay.
So 80s is Wrath of Khan, Search for Spock, Voyage Home, and even Final Frontier, which was 89. Because to me, in my mind, so in my mind, that one is the 90s, but it was released 89.
Oh, okay. I thought it was 90s too.
Yeah, my memory of it is 90s, but I keep it simple in the sense of let's go by release year in the theaters. Sure. And that's versus, of course, Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi.
Right.
So again, that same sort of, well, here, I'll let Chris, you kick us off on this one. This is
tough. This is tough. Okay. Shoot.
Yeah, if you think I'm prepared, you're going to
immediately. Okay. So immediately, I feel like Empire is the better movie out of all of.
And that's where I struggle too.
See, maybe not Wrath of Khan though, because that movie, like I've seen that movie like 10 times, and it gets better every single time. Like it's a great film. Like if that was the only Star Trek movie ever made, it'd be a masterpiece. Yeah. Like to the point, like I would say Wrath of Khan is just as influential as A New Hope or Empire was in terms of culture and all that stuff. But then we start to get into like A Voyage Home.
Oh, I see, and that's where it's funny because again, part of it's the decade. For me, Voyage Home, one of my favorite Star Treks. I know it's kind of stupid in the overall, but it's just that one of those ones where, they go back and the bus ride. That's always my favorite.
The bus ride. I love that scene's amazing. They kept really good. I hate to say it, just because of sheer content and how much influence that Star Trek had in the 80s, I think I might have to give it to Star Trek for the 80s.
Nice.
And because you think about it, we got Empire, for Star Wars, we got Empire, we got Return, and then we got a bunch of weird ass. Like I know we're not counting the movies. Well, if you want to count the Christmas special we had as a movie, but or the holiday special, no. Okay. But there was all these like weird ass like little offshoots which didn't make sense. Whereas Star Trek really kind of they carved their lane in the 80s, right? With I know we're talking about TNG, and then which led to other great things. And then they released like 4 or 5 movies in the 80s, and they weren't all surefire hits, but they all had memorable moments. They had great characters, and it stuck to the Star Trek mythos very well while still moving their IP in the right direction to create more awesome things for the 90s. So I can't believe I'm saying that because I'm such a freaking Star Wars fan, but I think for the 80s I'd have to say Star Trek.
Nice.
That's my vote. Yeah.
All right, AJ, what's your vote? What's the reason?
I'm going to agree. I have to agree with the Star Trek. I remember watching those. I fondly remember watching those with my dad, and I still think, like Chris said, Wrath of Khan is a phenomenal movie. We'll get to how I feel about that storyline later.
Sure.
But yeah, and then I always remember the one with the whales.
That's Voyage Home.
Voyage Home, yeah.
What happened to Search for Spock? That was number 3, right?
Yeah. It was Search. Yeah, that was the third one. after the end of Wrath of Khan. Yeah,
and that's where there was a bit of controversy, wasn't there? Was like with I thought I remember hearing controversy. All right, whatever. I think there was a controversy about Spock dying, and then they brought it back in The Voyage Home, and I don't know, whatever. It doesn't matter.
No, they brought him back in Search for Spock.
Well, Search for Spock, that's right, yeah. But he wasn't supposed to come back or something. Anyways.
No, he was supposed to come back.
I can't remember. I thought I heard something about that.
And again, to jump in a little bit, for the 80s, it pained me to say this because Empire is a great Star Wars, but when you package them all together, no. Like, for me, it was Wrath, Search, Voyage. Just the three of those together, even on their own. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's for that trilogy, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
It's a great piece of storytelling because there isn't too much time between the stories, right?
Yeah.
Like,
right
after, I almost called it episode 2, Star Trek 2, The Wrath of Khan, they do what they do, they go search for Spock, the title of the movie. And then if I remember correctly, Spock had some sort of quick growing up.
Yes, he did.
Due to what happened.
Because of the planet.
I like how the story was, the timeline wasn't, because I always wonder with Empire and Jedi, like, what happened?
Mm-hmm.
What?
Sure, there's so much of a gap.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think I enjoyed that much more in the point of view of storytelling.
The 80s. So again, we're all on the same page again.
Yeah, crazy.
So, let's go into those lovely 90s again. Another easy decade. Well, I guess I shouldn't start that way, should I? That's totally So Star Trek wise, this is where it gets a little bit more fun because we have Undiscovered Country, which is the last full classic. Then we get into the Generations, which mixes the Next Generation with the classic. And then First Contact, Insurrection.
Right.
And again, they're all versus this supposed movie that was made in the Star Wars universe called Phantom Menace.
That's right. Yeah. Wow, what a competition. Stiff.
Yeah. So this was a hard decade because again, I'll jump in first because again, in some ways it's easy. So Phantom Menace. We've talked about this a lot for 3 episodes. Horrible in so many levels. So obviously, from my perspective, Star Trek easy peasy wins. But saying that, I have to admit, none of these were horrible Star Trek movies. Undiscovered Country was kind of fun to watch because it was that whole coming together shit, right? Especially in the early 90s when there was real world crap going on. But
unlike today where there's no real world crap going on.
It's more about having the actual movie kind of tie into the Russians and Americans, that's an undiscovered country. So I kind of enjoyed that movie, especially back in the 90s. Generations, not bad from my perspective. I did actually, I shouldn't say didn't. I didn't mind First Contact, but they really did muck with characters a little bit from my perspective. They gave personality. They did some of the removing the visor stuff, all those things. I think that's what I remember most about First Contact. And then for me, Insurrection, not a bad movie, but really was changing the Next Generation to a full-on action. The story was completely gone when it came to Insurrection. It was just, let's run around, shoot stuff, and kill some Borg because Insurrection shit.
Yeah.
So, long story short, still, Star Trek gets my vote on the 90s.
Wow.
Yeah. Yep. All right, AJ. I heard a yes.
I'm going to have to agree, too, because I completely detest episode 1. And just based purely off of Generations, where we get to see Picard and Kirk.
Yeah, that is fun.
Interacting and doing their thing. That beats out episode 1 any day. Any day.
On its own.
I don't have very much memories of, I've seen all of them. I've seen First Contact, Insurrection, and I believe, whatever it was, I think that's coming up next year. But Insurrection wasn't very memorable for me. I can't really, like you're saying, generic space action, I guess, with the characters from Star Trek. I did like First Contact, though. I thought it was kind of neat. It was neat in how they played with, I guess, time travel and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
So I remember the drunk spaceship man.
Oh,
The,
yeah.
the entertainer. I can't remember what his name was.
Zephyr.
Yeah.
Zephyr Cochrane.
Yeah. I
He's the
thought
one
that
who
was.
he invented warp drive.
Well, I thought it was fun because just like Voyage Home, they're playing with something that they did play with in the series.
Yeah.
So it was familiar, right? They did do the time travel or the time.
Yes.
If it wasn't time travel, it was in the holodeck kind of thing, right? Where
Right.
they acted out a different time period. So yeah, it was fun and it was a good one. So yeah, and I do remember Undiscovered Country. That was again. I think you're right. That's going more into the 90s action movie kind of thing. They were trying to maybe cash in on that genre, sci-fi action, but probably a little more memorable than Insurrection. Insurrection.
Oh, it was. Yeah. Don't be wrong. I
sure.
did enjoy Undiscovered, and again, especially back in the day, like Klingon ships cloaking. What the? Oh my god!
Yeah.
Oh, it was crazy. That was crazy stuff. That was the one that had like the plot of like betrayal and stuff like that within the Klingons and shit, right?
There were some Klingons and some of the Klingons and some of the Star Trek Federation was actually involved in making sure there was no peace.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
There were bad guys on both sides, and one of the Vulcans was the bad guy.
Right.
Ooh,
the lady Vulcan. I can't remember the actress's name, but yeah,
the Lady Vulcan.
Lady Vulcan.
Hello, Lady Vulcan.
Yeah,
she was actually the bad one.
My vote would be for Star Trek again.
Nice.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, it's hard to not. Bank on Star Trek. I remember Undiscovered Country. I liked it fine. I thought it was a fun ride when I was a kid. Very much like you, Dave. I thought it was a good Star Trek movie. Generations. I remember when it was coming out, I thought it was going to like blow my mind. I really thought, wow, this is really cool to see these. It didn't quite do that, but I really still had fun with it. I thought it was an awesome movie. And because I was such a TNG fan, like I think First Contact might be my favorite Star Trek movie ever. I love it.
Wow.
I love it.
Really?
Yeah. And I know they mucked with the characters. I know that the story's off, if you will, but it was the first time I remember, I mean, aside from Generations to a degree, but it was the first time I remember seeing the TNG crew in that cinematic space that's away from the bridge. You know what I mean? Like, I know they did that stuff in TNG too, but this was like them as their own. Yeah. And I loved it. Like, Riker was a badass. The weird stuff with Data, getting his emotions and dealing with that. And I mean, and then that had its own consequences moving forward. And everybody else, and the whole Zephyr Cochrane. Yeah, I know they I think they retconned a little bit because of that movie for whatever, but it just worked for me. Oh, and the Borg, like the Borg and Q are probably my two favorite. Yeah, they're my favorite aliens.
Oh, Q's the best.
No, they're the best, and that's the only thing.
Q.
There's only one thing that Star Trek should do that they haven't done yet, and that's have a movie with Q. They should figure that out.
They should do that.
They should do that, but I digress.
No, Tribble's movie.
A next
Make
generation
the Tribbles movie.
Exactly. I'm surprised they didn't even do a reference of that in Generations. That would have made all the sense. Well, whatever.
Didn't they do it in was it Deep Space Nine? No, what is the one where the space station you won?
Yeah, Deep Space Nine. They did have
Space Nine, yeah.
Yeah,
they had one.
Yep, that's right. I remember that. That was fun. And then Insurrection, like you said, it was okay. Like I really wanted more with as good as First Contact was. I was hoping this was going to be like a fucking banger. It wasn't. I remember watching it, feeling very satisfied at the end, but then, like looking back on, it, I'm like, yeah, but what was the story? Like,
it's one of those great movies where you watch it once, it was okay.
Yeah,
and you'll never watch it again.
Yeah, exactly. But then when we compare that to episode 1, like two things in episodes, episode 1's offense, not defense, offense. 1, shit movie. Right? And 2, how long did we wait for that fucking movie? 88 till 99 was from Return of the Jedi till episode 1. It would have been over like a decade, right? More?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
right. Phantom Menace, I mean, yes. Sorry,
Yeah.
I
Phantom
took
Menace,
me a
sorry,
second. Oh, yeah, it was well
And-
over a decade.
And this was at a time we didn't have the internet like we do now. We didn't have, other things. So for us Star Wars fans, reading all the books and playing the games, all that good stuff, like we're waiting to find out when we're going to see anything Star Wars related.
Mhm.
And then the freaking excitement starts of episode 1. We're all losing our
Oh,
shit.
everybody.
Everyone is. And then we all see episode 1, and then the dust settles. We're like, what the fuck did we just see? So, how can... I'm sorry, Star Trek has to win the 90s. It has to.
Let's get into another wonderful decade.
Into the aughts.
zeros.
The
zeros.
aughts.
The 00, the dot dots.
Yeah, the zeros, the dots.
When the world was supposed to frickin' end and it never did.
That's true.
Oh.
Yeah. And on this one, again, it can be, well, let's get into it. So that is Nemesis, which is the last of Next Generation. And then we get into the Star Trek reboot. So it was the reboot. That one came out in the thousands. Yeah.
Okay,
And
refresh my memory as to what happened in Nemesis. What was the storyline? Right?
There was stuff happening. I remember a lovely painted woman who was like an assassin of some form. That's my memory. I could be completely wrong. And she had something to do with Star Trek-y stuff.
Yeah, Star Trek-y stuff.
Oh, well then.
Yeah, well then. But that's what I remember of Nemesis. The reboot was good. I did enjoy the Star Trek reboot myself.
Mm-hmm.
But we get into that versus where it is Attack of the Clones versus Revenge of the Sith. So, it's a toughy one. I don't know who wants to lead, or should I jump right in? Silence, I'll jump right in. So you kind of brought up one point already, AJ. I have seen Nemesis. I don't remember what it's totally about.
I've seen it too.
Yeah,
and I can't. That's what I don't
kind of remember.
I don't recall.
I think there's like this weird space station they end up going onto as well. That
wasn't
like,
the bad guy
stuff?
like a clone of Picard or something like that?
His son or something.
Yeah. There's some sort of relation.
Oh, another one of those stories. Okay.
Yeah, it was one of those. It was to me, and again, I've kind of proven this point by not even meaning to, which is I do recall seeing it. I don't recall hating it. Okay, I watched it. I have no other recollection.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep, nothing else. Star Trek reboot, again, I actually didn't mind the reboot. We brought in all these characters. It's fancy-ish. It's far more action-orientated than I would say the classics would be on the Star Trek side. But it was, it was a fun movie. Got to enjoy it.
It was
and
good
then,
I enjoyed. Sorry.
Yeah, you enjoyed. Yeah, no. It's just we get into then, again, Attack of Clones, Revenge of Sith, where we're far better than Phantom Menace, but still struggled a little bit in that sense for me. Attack of Clones, Revenge of Sith, but when I compare it, I can't use Nemesis because if I don't remember it that well, then it wasn't that great of a movie.
Yeah,
I do enjoy the Star Trek reboot, but again, I'm struggling. Star Trek, that reboot, is it truly better than Attack of Clones and Revenge of Sith? And I have to admit, I struggled on this one. This decade, I was challenged in because I have to say the thing that actually brings me a bit of pain. I have to, I vote Star Wars. Attack Clones, Revenge of Sith. Like, from my perspective, it wins on this one for me. And it kind of pains me to say it because I didn't mind the reboot, but it wasn't better in my mind than necessarily Attack of Clones, Revenge of Sith because it was very much, from my perspective, a fun, action-y version of Star Trek. But I look at Attack of Clones, Revenge of Sith, those are action-y versions of, Star Wars, sure.
Star Wars,
still.
yeah. Sure.
Yeah, so my vote on this one, and it was just a little to that right. Yeah, I go, the Star Warsy side for me.
Yeah. I think I'm going to agree with you, Dave, because I think, okay, we've talked in length about episodes 1, 2, and 3 and our feelings on those. But when, like you said, like Nemesis, I'm sure it was a fine movie, but not fine enough for us to recall much to talk about, right? And if I'm being honest, considering the reboots, whatever you want to call them.
Reboot.
Yeah.
Wait till we start doing that. The reboot of the reboot of the reboot.
God.
Sorry, we're totally off topic.
Hopefully a few podcasts from now. We'll wait till we start rebooting our own podcast.
Wait, Spider-Man's done that. Spider-Man has had the reboot of the reboot of the reboot,
Yes,
haven't he?
Yeah.
Yes. 3. But so the reboot of Star Trek borrowed so heavily from the Star Wars universe. I think by default, this decade has to go to Star Wars. Like, yeah, you can say what you want about episodes of 2 and 3, and yeah, we have our opinions, but there's a whole generation of fans that we've proven this. 1, 2, and 3 are their trilogy. Tell me one fucking fan out there of Star Trek that will say that the 2000 films are their Star Trek.
Oh yeah, no.
They don't exist.
No.
Right. So I think by default, I think I got to give it to Star Wars.
I'm on the fence personally because none of us can really recall Nemesis well enough to even say what the fuck it was about. Personally, I also detested episode 2. So for me, that kind of cancels it out. I did like episode 3, but I really enjoyed the reboot of Star Trek because
you have to pick one.
Oh,
yes,
I really like how they.
Must be done.
I really like how they got into the characters a little more, the characters that we know and love, Kirk and all that crew, and they gave us a little more backstory to who they were.
And Chris Pine did a really good job too. He was. Awesome.
I think they all did a phenomenal job at
all the
their
actors
respective parts.
Yeah.
Carl Urban was really entertaining. I liked his
Yeah.
McCoy. See again, and it was almost it was a little different because they're different actors, so it was their version of that character, but it was still felt comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Even the whole time travel nonsense, that didn't really throw me for much of a loop because again, Star Trek. They do some pretty wacky shit anyway in Star Trek. I know a lot of people had issues with it, but I thought it was kind of cool. You get to see old Spock and new Spock.
That was fun to see.
That was pretty
neat. I like
neat.
that a lot. Yeah, for sure. Really like that.
So, I'm going to give it to Star Trek.
Ooh,
oh wow! Okay.
I enjoyed Star Trek much more than I enjoyed. Even though I did like episode 3 out of all of those episodes, I enjoyed the Star Trek reboot much more.
Nice.
Okay. Cool.
Alrighty. Now we're into the tens, the teens, the wonderfulness.
Yes.
So this one we have Into Darkness and Star Trek Beyond versus Force Awakens, Last Jedi, and Rise of Skywalker.
Oh man.
I know. So I have to admit.
Oh man.
So what I'll do is I'll explain this. So I'll start with yes. This one to me is a Star Wars because, again, Force Awakens, Last Jedi, Rise of Skywalker, +1. We've talked about this great amount. I enjoyed them. However, all that being said, I really enjoyed Into Darkness. I really thought it was well done. I thought that was a great Star Trek. And if it hadn't been for all the 3 on the Star Wars side really going nuts, what was his name? Cumberbatch? Is that his
Benedict
name?
Cumberbatch.
He did an amazing job going old. And again, that reference back to the Wrath of Khan, to me, it worked on multiple levels. I know there are some people in this world that hate it for a lot of these reasons, but for me, sorry. Now I've lost it. For me, it worked great. I loved it. I really thought Into Darkness was great. Beyond was okay. It was great. But Into Darkness, loved it. But all of this being said, it's Star Wars. I got to give my vote there. All right. I'm giving this one to AJ.
Yeah.
I was offended by the reimagining of Wrath of Khan story. I was thoroughly because 3/4 of the movie he's somebody else.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden he's Khan Noonien Singh. And but I don't know. Maybe I'd have to watch the original because Khan comes from an original series episode. that was carried over into
Yep.
the second movie there. So maybe I'd have to watch that, but I don't remember him ever doing that. So I don't know if they were taking specifically from the original or not, but I didn't.
Yeah, I don't
No,
know.
I didn't like it. I didn't. If that aspect wasn't there, if they just kept going with whoever this character was and he was trying to fuck people over and do nasty shit to the Starfleet, I think I would have appreciated it much more.
Fair.
But to trick me like that, that's naughty. And again, I don't think you can put anybody else other than Ricardo Montalban in that. It didn't match the Khan that we know and love, right?
I will give you that.
I still feel like with Chris Pine and Zachary Quinto and Carl Urban and whoever played
Zoe
over
Saldana.
there. Thank you very much. I think they all still took from their original characters somehow.
Yeah.
With personality traits.
They were imbued with those in their characters.
Yeah, whereas as Benedict Cumberbatch, though being a great actor, I don't think he's a horrible actor at all. I don't know. Could have been direction, could have been writing as well, but I don't think it didn't work for me anyway. And so I didn't like that one. And I don't much remember what happened in Beyond. I remember the opening. The intro is the thing that sticks in my mind.
A lot of jumping around on a planet. That's what I remember.
Yeah, where they're running through the bush there, and it's what sticks out in my mind is the colors. From that, there's lots of reds and whites and everything like that. It was kind of funny. It was kind of humorous in a way. But yeah, I'll give it to Star Wars.
Oh yeah,
definitely give it to Star Wars.
That doesn't surprise me.
I mean,
even though I didn't like episode. What was it? 8? Because they only went 2 minutes. That was 7, 8, 9, right? I didn't much like episode 8. I like the J.J. Abrams ones. Those were the ones I liked. But
that's probably why you like the Star Trek reboot so much, because he.
Good point. Good point.
Yeah, he was in all of this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good point. Because I didn't like the Rian Johnson. I could really tell the stylistically between the two directors, so it kind of took me out of what they were trying to do in a way.
Yeah.
I wish they'd had JJ just do the whole thing. So yeah, all the Star Trek movies, reboot movies, felt like they were in the same, universe or genre of movie, as opposed to breaking up that feeling between the three. But yeah, Star Wars. Yeah.
Fair.
Yeah, that's easy.
Yeah. I don't know how you can not give it to Star Wars with wrapping up the saga, and they were like, say what you will, they're all fine films, whether you're fans or not. They're really well done. I'm kind of with you, AJ, with Into Darkness. I remember, like, my thing was I'm with you, Dave, in the sense that I liked the movie. I didn't think it was a bad movie. I very much enjoyed it. My problem was the bait and switch, only because I remember before the movie was coming out, there was some rumors out there that they were gonna adapt this Wrath of Khan storyline, and everybody involved was like, "No, that's not happening. We're not doing that. We would never touch that," or something. They're very, very adamant about it not happening, and then they freaking do it. I was like, come on, like, especially like when you're waiting for it, and it's like it's such a letdown. Like, that was the only thing. Like, so if I didn't know any of that, if they didn't have anything of that, I might have a bit of a different opinion. But because of that, I'm like, you guys,
I still liked it.
I also didn't like how they switched the Spock and Kirk characters at the end.
Yeah, the dynamic.
At the end,
I did too, actually.
The reboot.
I liked that.
I didn't like that. I don't know.
I liked it a lot. It reminded me of when
weird.
they would do that on the bridge when for whatever reason Spock would have to take over, and I just thought that was cool. That was cool.
Yeah. No, I admit, my side of that is I like that they switch up, because, and again, in some ways it's purely from a filmmaking perspective where they've switched it up enough to show shit's different. So all that stuff you think it ain't maybe there.
I guess the timeline. I guess the story is the time. It's a different timeline, so different things can happen in different timelines, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So okay.
Now, in other ways, I can understand why people are like, I hate it because it just proves that, hey, love and, wanting to be with somebody is just this moment in time and effort. But that's a whole other podcast again.
And considering I've seen episodes 7, 8, 9 multiple times now, and they've only been out for a few years versus how many times I've seen Into Darkness and Beyond, and
I've seen Into Darkness a few times, but Beyond only once.
Yeah, so I have to give it to Star Wars, right? For better or worse, they did a really great job in wrapping up that series. And even like you said, AJ, even if you're not a fan of Ryan Johnson's directing, there's still lots of great stuff you could pull as a Star Wars fan, right? So and I agree with you too. Like, it would have been nice to see where J.J. Abrams would have taken the Star Trek world before he got involved. Because think about it, he did all that Star Wars stuff before he did, or Star Trek stuff before he did Star Wars.
Yeah.
Could you imagine if he got another movie and he just kept on that train? It would look very, very. Square might look very different. And what a great! Can we just quick sidetrack? How fucking great of a life are you living when you get to direct Star Trek and Star Wars movies?
Oh, right? I know.
Like,
right?
What
Two of the most influential sci-fi franchises ever on the planet, in the world. Yeah. And you get to fucking play with those toys.
And he does it with like nerves of steel. Like, you never see the guy rattled. He's like, yeah, we're just doing this. We like this, that. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure if you put me in, and I'm an aspiring film director, if you put me on set of a Star Wars movie, like,
oh yeah. I mean, so like, shit, I need the Force now. Oh.
Like, now.
You'd be over in the corner fucking playing with R2-D2.
Right.
How does it work? What does it do?
Same with Star Trek. I'll be trying to fucking phase myself. Like, get me out of here.
So that's our decade. And here we go. So hang on. The drum. Da 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 da. Star Wars wins by 2.
Well,
by 2.
Yeah.
Wow.
By 2.
That's
way
more
than
Star
Trek that one decade.
I will say I like the technology in Star Trek much better than Star Wars. Just as a general thing. I always felt like I always got confused by the fact that in the Star Wars universe, they had all of this technology, right? They had certain technologies. They could fly through space. They could, have lightsabers and everything. But everything looked like it was an old piece of shit.
Yeah. Like the universe has been worked over or something.
Yeah. Like, it was just, but even dudes who looked like bums had laser guns.
Yeah.
But the laser gun looked like a piece of shit. Whereas with Star Trek, it felt like it was more cohesive.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, the ship was fancy, therefore this was fancy, kind of, in regards to technology. You had transporters. I always wondered why in Star Wars, where's the transporters? Mm-hmm. Why didn't they have that same
concept?
If they're this advanced, but they're, I don't know. So I always thought the technology in Star Trek inspired a lot of actual technology, right? Like
it's true.
I had a cell phone when I was a kid, the StarTAC cell phone by Motorola, and it was like a fucking old school, flip open.
I remember
Star Trek communicator, right? I loved it. And the guy who designed it said he took the idea directly from the original series.
Yeah. I'm not surprised.
That's awesome.
And I think as a whole, Star Trek is a better commentary on what could be or what should be. The vision is much
happy.
Yeah, like one's way more fictional than the other. Yes, Star Trek is fictional, but the ideas in Star Trek are a little more even grounded. Current, right? Like, or grounded, in more. I guess because it is somewhat set on Earth in a way, right? It's Earth.
Well, it's the exploration.
Earthlings of
absolutely,
the original Star Treks, I think, are really in that world that you're describing. And from my perspective, the original Star Trek movies, Next Generation, but then even the remakes that they started doing were very much outside of that. It was more the Star Wars-y type world. But
that's
true.
I agree. That's true. The
reboots
didn't focus so hard on humanity and what could be, not having any barriers between race or alien race or anything like that. Everybody coming together as one sort of cohesive, I don't want to say government, but
group.
Group of like-minded, individuals who are just trying to do something for the better. And
Sure.
Gene Roddenberry was, I guess, trying to do that with the original too. Right?
Yes,
he pushed the boundaries of television a lot. There were a lot of firsts for television.
There was
with the
original Star Trek.
Star Trek. Sorry, pardon me. So yeah, I kind of like that legacy. Maybe I relate to that legacy a little more than I would the Star Wars. Yeah, the Star Wars is just a good sci-fi action, right?
Yes, it is.
It's not as deep. It's not as deep, I guess.
No, it isn't. No,
I don't think it's point. Well, here's the thing. I think it started that way. And I think you all those points are valid, and I would agree. But I feel like now Star Wars is catching up in terms of influencing our world. Now, we may not have like force powers or not, but the fact that we have people that are actively creating lightsabers and thinking about how like warp drive or light speed or how to travel, like I feel like it's kind of catching up to that curve. But you're right. Like Star Trek has always been like a reflection of where we could get to. I was kind of looking like this in the Star Trek in the most immediate future. Like that's what we'll get to in the most immediate future. However, in like, let's say, I don't know, 100 to 500 years past that, we're probably looking at Star Wars. You know what I mean? Like,
nice.
There's a question of time. Sure, Star Wars might win in the movies, but in terms of franchises, they both got an equal place in my heart. I love them so much.
Well, yeah, that's where it gets. Well, and again, in about 20 years, we can have this wonderful conversation again, because now there are actual Star Wars franchises happening that actually, you know what, like Mandalorian, Clone Wars have been around forever, of course, but they can actually start to have a discussion that might actually have some value.
You got a good point. Yeah, there'd be weight there for sure, because now Mandalorian is.
Oh, it is.
Love it.
Yeah, it's good.
Hey, did you?
It's brilliant.
Let's get on this because we haven't discussed this yet, David. Did you watch the last episode of fucking season 2?
I have not yet. No.
Oh my god!
Oh my god!
We're on like episode 5 of it. We're getting.
There's a statute of limitation for spoilers, right? There's certain time's going to pass where we're just not going to give a fuck anymore. And if you haven't watched it, you can watch it by listening to us talk about it.
I will commit to having it done this year.
Okay, that's but you still haven't spoiled it for yourself. You don't even know what we're talking about, do you?
Not a clue.
Oh my god, you got it. Okay, just listen. Make it a priority, and when you get there, I don't care if it's like 5 a.m. Text us. Be like, we have to talk about this now. Okay.
Okay.
For sure. Speaking of, anyways.
Yeah.
So I mean, thanks for doing this, Dave. I think it's really cool to kind of talk about these. Like, it's fun to criticize what we like about a franchise or whatever, but these two sci-fi properties mean a lot to me. Like, to all of us.
Both do. Yeah.
Yeah. And like to break it down for the movies, like it's really cool to think about how much they've influenced us, and I like way closer than I thought it was going to be. I thought I was going to be like the only Star Trek fan in certain areas, but no, it's crazy that Star Wars only won by 2. But it's really interesting.
Well, we only had one person vote differently in 1 decade.
Oh, that was
that was
me.
Yeah, it was.
It was I.
Yes.
Well, my family were big Star Trek people.
No, it's all good.
I'm in the both camp. I like Star, but I think I have fonder memories of Star Trek because my dad and I used to watch the original, and then again with the Next Generation and everything like that. So it's I'd say that's more near and dear to my heart, kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's one thing I still love. It's by 2. We went over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 decades. And the difference in votes between us 3 was 2.
Yeah, that is pretty fun and kind of crazy. Yeah,
right. Which just shows how equal it is. It's a decade on, decade off.
That is amazing. That is amazing. I can't wait till they're both firing on all cylinders and in actual competition, which I don't think they actually are.
No, they won't be, and they'll always have that essence of differences between them. Like again, and we've kind of already leaned towards this. Star Trek, for whatever reason. Probably no good reason, has always been more TV orientated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, things could be changing, as, Mandalorian, things like that come out, but we'll see.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
Since
TV's always been there.
Since Disney got a hold of their
Yeah.
properties, I think they're gonna, because Disney does a really good TV show if they actually put
Yes.
effort behind it, and it's not
Yeah.
like a Disney Channel type show.
Right.
It's just your cookie
Yeah.
cutter kind of thing. I feel like Star Trek kind of lost it a little bit there with, what was it, Enterprise.
I never watched it.
I've only watched a few episodes myself. I feel bad.
I've heard
I
of.
feel like I should go back.
But it feels more like a CWE type show. Like,
Oh,
just
yeah.
The effects aren't there, even though the effects weren't, what we would consider now top notch from the Next Generation or anything like that. I still feel like they were trying harder.
Mm.
No, it might have looked really like blue screeny or whatever back in the 90s, but it now comes off as cheesy the way that they're doing it. And I
really?
hope that maybe they can kind of flip it back over to,
Yeah. I wanted to watch it.
Trying to give you that realism a little more.
Yeah.
I always wanted to watch that one because I had my favorite actor from an old TV show called Quantum Leap.
Scott Bakula, yeah.
Scott
Yeah,
Bakula.
Scott Bakula. Yeah,
I love
Quantum
that.
Leap.
I love me some Quantum Leap.
love that show.
Oh my God.
Gotta love
There's
some
a-
Quantum Leap.
There's a verse we got to do. It's two time jumping shows: Quantum Leap versus Sliders. You guys ever watch Sliders?
Are you gonna make me watch Sliders? I've seen a
Not
couple
make you.
episodes.
That show was amazing. We talked
Well,
about it.
no.
I'd
like the
rather rather watch
two,
My
3
Secret
seasons.
Identity.
That's
Jerry
a
O'Connell.
classic.
Fair, yeah. That'd be fun. But yeah, no, you're right. There's what is that? Discovery, the newest one, the newest Star Trek show it's on right now.
Well, Picard.
Well, Picard, yeah, but the one oh no, they've got the shorts. Yeah, that's the thing too. Star Trek now has they've got the Star Treks, and they've also got that lower
Below
decks.
Decks.
Below
That's
Decks,
funny.
which is
That's
an animated
humorous.
show. Oh, it's basically about the crew in engineering and stuff fucking around and being a bunch of morons. Like,
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I haven't heard
Yeah.
of that one.
Yeah, it's great.
It's really good, yeah, actually.
It's really good.
I forgot
You should
about
check
that.
it out. Yeah, so I mean, like they're firing in terms of the television world. So I mean,
Nice.
yeah, if they can get their movies on track, and obviously Star Wars is well on its way to creating their TV on track. I think they're going to be very healthy for a long time to come for
Oh, yeah,
fans
they
just
all
like
will
us.
be. Yes,
They sure will. Anything else we want to talk about before we start wrapping this up, or what?
No, I think we did a kick-ass job.
I think we did. I think we're all still fans, but we obviously know Star Wars teensy bit better, just a little bit when it comes to the movies. And we're not going to do shows because it'll be a landslide right now. Star Trek will win. I'm pretty sure we can all agree on that for sure. Well, until next week, we want to say thanks so much for hanging out with us. And if you're a Star Trek fan, you're a Star Wars fan, let us know. What do you want to come at us, bruh? Whatever that.
Bro.
I don't know.
Bruh.
Whatever the kids say
Bruh.
these days. Please let us know. Be passionate. We're passionate. We want to hear your passion. Bring it out. And if you're out there, you're feeling a little mentally unwell, just remember you matter in all the ways that matter to those that are in your life and even to us. So if you're feeling it, just reach out, talk to somebody. That's what people are for, to talk about your feelings and things and go through life. But until next time, I just want to say thanks again for joining us. As always, I've been Harvey.
Dave Shergill.
Nanu, AJ.
Original.
Well done.
Nicely done. And just like that, you've been sarcastically distracted. Phaser set to stun? No. Have yourselves a great week.
Night.